What's going on, guys? TG or ThunderGod here, and I got a special guest with me on today's video, that being Truth. Say what's up, bro.
What's up, man? I'm happy to be here. I respect ThunderGod a lot.
Thank you, bro. I don't think I deserve it, but I appreciate it. So today we have an interesting video, that being what if each Akatsuki duo pulled up on the leaf in an attempt to gather intel and capture Naruto. And the way we kind of formatted this video was it's essentially segmented into rounds with each duo. The first round being if they're able to hold off the Leaf Village and extract the intel of where Naruto is, and the second round being how they would do in a fight against that Naruto on the Toad Summons with Ma and Pa. I'll be treating both scenarios as their own fights, with each character fresh in each scenario. So I'm essentially buffing the Akatsuki, but I just want to point out how this is more so just buffing the Akatsuki just due to how absurd of a feat it was for Pain in the original timeline, how much of a gauntlet he actually ran. So it's pretty absurd what Pain did, so I'm essentially making it a little easier for the Akatsuki, which honestly they're still facing a lot. It doesn't really change the most. So with all that being said, subscribe if you're new here, check out Truth. Obviously he makes some really good content that I enjoy. Let's get into the video. Now, while we're on the topic of hypothetical scenarios that really expand our imagination and offer us limitless enjoyment, I want to talk about something truly special in this regard. That being the most popping mobile game of the season, coming to you straight from today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, the RPG played by over 80 million players across the globe. Set in the realm of Teleria, you are one of many long-dead Telerian warriors, resurrected along with players from across the globe with over 650 completely unique champions to collect from different factions with billions of ways to customize and build your champions. My top 3 favorite looking champions would have to be Warrim, the Frost King. His icy design is ridiculously cool to me, and I love how they incorporate ice into his frame, making it dynamic and elemental, which is really neat. Calvinex, who looks like an undead paladin glowing using forbidden magic, whose kit is heavily focused on laying out poisons and boosting his damage from his poisons. Lastly would be Fortis, who quite frankly looks like if Cthulhu had a physical form and was knighted, which is just so much more awesome than it needs to be. And this month, Raid's got a huge update with a ton of new features, including a brand new dungeon and the introduction of Artifact Ascension. Battle through the Sand Devil's Necropolis and earn the precious oil needed to take your artifacts to the next level. There are a bunch of new champions being added to the mix too, including some really cool holiday champions. For those who are really looking to get into the festive spirit, the Bastion's even been decorated in-game to look all wintry too. Really cool. And if you haven't started playing Raid yet, which you should be, Raid's got something extra special happening now. They just released a legendary champion based off MMA and pro wrestling legend Ronda Rousey. Yes, Ronda Rousey you can get for free right now, whether you're a new or long-time player, just by logging into Raid. All you got to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and February 20th, and Ronda's yours. To celebrate Ronda's arrival to Raid, you can use the special promo code RAIDRONDA, available to all users new and old, to get a bunch of helpful stuff. Click the link in the description or scan my QR code here on screen. You'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, tarot, 200k worth of silver, 1 energy refill and 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get into the game. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here on the map. Available for 30 days for new players only, so definitely get into this while you can, guys. And thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring the video. So starting off, we should talk about Sage Mode Naruto for a bit of a basis and, to provide some relativity to these characters. Sage Mode Naruto is just absolutely absurd as a fighter. He kind of breaches into that Sannin tier, even being implied multiple times. A lot of people have probably heard this before, but by multiple mediums in the story of Naruto, whether that be the back of Naruto volume 45, which implies he surpassed Jiraiya. Fukasaku also implies it, along with Naruto just having a more complete Sage mode and performing better against Pain as a whole. I understand there's levels to where you scale on Pain's fatigue and whatnot, but I just want to note that Pain was dealing with Jiraiya a lot more comfortably, blatantly reacting to Jiraiya's fastest jutsu in Sage mode. And Pain does give Naruto credit, even citing him as pushing Pain this far. Pain doesn't make excuses oh, I'm fatigued from the village or anything like that. No, he directly gives Naruto credit. Along with Naruto just having an absolutely absurd arsenal, having the Rasen Shuriken that's now throwable. He's able to throw it due to his enhanced durability, making it so that he's not facing the repercussions of the technique hurting him. A buff on speed, strength, jutsu potency, frog kata, invisible Sage art attacks. along with, durability negation with like the frog slap. He has all this insane stuff. Increased threat perception. He's just really complete fighter. I've talked about this a lot, but Sage Mode Naruto, just from a lore perspective, breaches into that Sannin territory and is a very, very difficult fighter for a lot of these Akatsuki members, as his durability is a big factor we're going to talk about in this video. But even Pain, like throughout that fight, was unable to just damage Naruto. Like, even Naruto knows. He's like, you can't hurt me when I'm in Sage Mode. So that's actually a big struggle a lot of these Akatsuki members are going to face with Naruto. So we'll talk about it more. Anything you want to add?
Sage Mode Naruto, he's a very interesting character. Obviously, he went to Mount Miyaboku to go train to get stronger than Jiraiya. That's what Tsunade says. There's multiple sources that I can cite that imply that he's stronger than Sage Mode Jiraiya whenever he pulls up. He also has very interesting techniques such as frog kata and whatever the other frog jutsu is that can go through people's intestines and whatnot. Basically, durability negation. Obviously, he's no joke as a fighter. He's above those Sannin tiers or on those Sannin tiers, depending on who you ask. And, he's definitely winning a lot of the fights that we're going to go over today.
The first Akatsuki duo we have is Deidara and Sasori, who is going to be going against the Leaf Village. Now, Deidara and Sasori are very interesting because they almost like have a lot of similar lore to Pain in the fact that, like, for example, Deidara kind of like takes on an entire village while fighting Gaara, in the sense that like he was getting ready to nuke it. He's comfortable with dealing with that. Sasori with taking down an entire country, obviously in terms of like military forces, with just his 100 puppets alone. So they are very suited to taking on like these large factions of civilization, or if you want to call it that. And the approach I see being made is Deidara is essentially going to be providing bombs from above, with Sasori kind of taking the front with his 100 puppets to like take on the Leaf. And a lot of people might like sleep on these 100 puppets since a lot of them were getting taken out. But I want you to realize like all these 100 puppets have their weapons coated in like instant paralysis poison, which is absolutely absurd. So imagine Sasori just kind of chopping wood throughout the village with nobody able to resist this poison, except for like maybe a few juggernauts who might be able to like weave out of Sasori's attacks, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Along with Deidara dropping large scale nukes from above, maybe you argue like a C2 dragon, or he just tries, he's not going to blatantly nuke the village like he tried to do against the Sand Village, because he does need intel. I just see Sasori just not even trying with the third Kazekage puppet, as he's taking on a large faction of shinobi. And in terms of like the quality of shinobi within the village, there really isn't too many people. Even if they like attempt to gang up on these Akatsuki members are no strangers to like, they're equal to like 1,000 shinobi each. So their lore, they can take on a lot of people who are weaker than them. It's more so like who's on their level, which there's very few. The only real threats the village has against them really is Kakashi and Tsunade, as for example Might Guy's team is out of the village, Yamato's squadron is out the village. So we know that these two should be able to hold off the entire village, at least for a short span of time, whether that be Deidara or just staying out of range or whatever. They basically just have to keep the village busy. And the thing that's important about these two as well is that the reason these two having like large scale attacks or being able to inflict this much damage is important is because if they don't inflict enough damage to the village, Tsunade is going to enter the fray. The reason she didn't originally is because she was focusing her efforts with Katsuyu to like heal villagers and whatnot. So she would do the same thing here, as they're going to be inflicting this large amount of damage and whatnot, which is important because if you can't and Tsunade joins the fray, this is going to be like a much more difficult fight for the duo. But what's actually interesting is that Sasori has almost like a pseudo mind control that he can use to fish for intel. Do you want to talk about this for a sec?
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to say, people like not a lot of people bring this up, but he has the ability to control people's mind to where he can make them basically a spy and do them whatever he wants to them. He had Kabuto under this for an amount of time, and then he also does it to Yura from a Sand Village. He basically turned him into a sleeper spy. So whenever he does something like specific, I forget what he does, it might be a code word or something, but whenever he does it, he basically activates and then goes on the Akatsuki side, and he ends up being a clone for Itachi to fight Naruto.
Yeah, the point of this is that he can actually just inflict his jutsu on somebody else in the village while Deidara is rampaging from the air. Even if he takes more of a stealth approach and lets Deidara take the lead, essentially. The main goal being that they need to distract the village, hold them off for a duration of time while the other gains intel or has the ability to gain intel. So, yeah, they should be able to figure out Naruto's location, which will give them the pass from round 1 to round 2. They really just have Kakashi, who was pretty much like the main driving force against Tendo Pain, the strongest path of Pain. All the other Pains weren't really struggling too much, or they were just weaker, as the different paths of Pain have varying levels of strength, like durability or what they could take. But it shouldn't be to the point where they get overwhelmed by that one Kakashi. Even though the Leaf does have a lot of juggernauts still like lying around and sleeping around, they got Choji and Choza. Choza being like Konoha's highest warp potential in the war arc and whatnot. Still wouldn't be too much, as the insta-kill poison is going to be able to just like... it's actually absurd because he's just really just going to be slashing through people. And the slightest scratch is just going to be taking people out. So even if he tags Kakashi, it's just kind of clipped. This also might be consistent if you kind of go off the Kazekage scaling and like, you know, how strong Sasori would be with that. With his like 100 puppets being his full power and whatnot. It might not even be outlandish to say that Sasori would be above this Kakashi. But really, you just have to argue that they can just hold the village off for a prolonged period of time again. Round 2, Deidara and Sasori are going to be taking Pain's exact position against Naruto on top of the 3 toads. Now, off rip, right? The problem with, and I kind of mentioned this before earlier in the video, the problem with these duos is that hurting Naruto is an impossibility for them. Sasori is very ambiguous with his AP feats, what he's actually able to pierce through with this sand. He doesn't really have any like substantial showings to say like he'd be able to like surpass Pain's rod. It's you know, the same rods that can like cut through the version 2 cloaks and have a higher piercing power than that. Same thing with Deidara's explosions. Sasuke's able to step on landmines and still walk away and be okay. Like only his foot is a little injured. It's still not. Maybe that gets into like Sage Mode Naruto versus like CM2 Sasuke, but this Naruto should have more durability again. Along with like those versions of Sasuke being able to dodge Deidara's aerial missiles. So let's say he lets Sasori fight on the ground and goes aerial. No attacks are hitting Sage Mode Naruto. He might actually just run in and try and like kick one of them in the face, kind of similar to what Jiraiya does. I do think that Deidara will be able to do well against the 3 toad summons, especially since he can like flip the 3 tails on its back and like one-shot it with like smaller explosions. So it's pretty ridiculous what he's able to do there. So Gamabunta and Ko shouldn't really be a problem. It's just more so like how long can these fighters survive against Sage Mode Naruto, since you know they're not gonna be able to damage him, which means like Rasen Shuriken's an instant GG. He can throw it to Deidara, or he can throw it at Sasori or the 3rd Kazekage puppet. Even Sakura, whether you argue she's like mental amped or Sasori suppressed with the narrative of proving he has a heart in that fight. Regardless, this Naruto does have more threat perception than that Sakura, so that might compensate for that lack. Especially if you think Sakura scales to that Sasori, then this fight is pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, moral of the story is the Iron Sand shouldn't really be able to breach Naruto. Naruto's going to be able to pretty much one-shot these puppets if Sakura can. I don't believe Sasori would lead with the 100 puppets against Naruto, and if he does, it doesn't really matter either, as Naruto has large-scale AoE attacks. Deidara isn't faring too better either, as again, his explosions are extremely questionable, right? And maybe you can argue C0, but that doesn't really work in this case because they actually have to take Naruto alive in this encounter. So they wouldn't just disintegrate him or like you know, tear his cellular structure apart from the inside out with the C0. It's just not going to work. You know, C1, C0, he's not going to do either option at this point. So nuking himself's also off the table. Also, if you argue that Sasori scratches Naruto, maybe when like he's outside of Sage Mode. So essentially it all boils down to the fact that this Naruto essentially has free reign along with Manpa supporting him, right? Because Manpa can like replenish clones for him too. Even base Naruto's like throwing it down with Pain a little bit, so he might even scale to like this Deidara and this Sasori. If Pain with all 6 paths of Pain isn't really able to damage this Naruto, again, you know, the Sasori and Deidara's AP just isn't high enough, so Naruto just be able to systematically. And a lot of Deidara's hexes result in killing. He's not the type of fighter for that. With Sasori's hexes being predicated on him getting 1 scratch on the opponent, which again he can't do. Maybe you could argue when Naruto comes out of Sage Mode, but yeah, it's not likely that the fight would go on that long. Especially since that even with 2 clones on Mount Miyaboku, Naruto can make 3 supporting clones that can do all these crazy things that go Dama Rasengan and whatnot. So he could have 3 clones jump Deidara while he himself fights Sasori, or can go 2-2. It's just absolutely absurd with his clones also having that enhanced durability. It's just absolutely absurd, this Naruto. So yeah, these 2 really aren't going to be able to take him down at this point. Could also argue maybe Sasori paralyzes Gamabunta and Ko with his Iron Sand, which is a fair interpretation, as they would have no resistance to it. But again, the summons aren't that useful to begin with. Even in the original fight, they weren't able to tag Pain at all. They were only dealing with the beast summons. They're literally just kind of like background noise for Naruto. Manpa are much more useful, I'd say. So Naruto doesn't even need them necessarily. They're more so, all they really do is are existing to take attention off Naruto himself. That's really all they're there for. They don't really serve a purpose against these two fighters in particular. I talked for a second. Do you want to add anything to that?
Uh, yeah, just to add on a little bit, that since they're taking the same exact things as Pain, the properties as Pain fight, they can't kill him. And basically, the way you go at this is that they both have insta kill move sets. So Gator obviously has the C1 and C0 bombs that can like basically kill anyone, and then Sasori has his poison, which obviously would kill anyone that he can cut. So even if we give Sasori the AP advantage, say he can cut him with some type of puppet that has poison on it, he wouldn't do that just because he has to get the nine tails actually and extract them with the Akatsuki or whatever. And then that goes to say that also Deidara wouldn't do the same thing. With that being said, I mean, ignoring just the massive speed advantage that Naruto would have, I mean, he would probably be able to take them out pretty easily.
So for the factors listed above, just discussing like the nature of this battle and who they're fighting against, I don't see them taking Naruto out quickly enough, or or the only instance being when he comes out of Sage mode, and I don't even think that's entirely likely that the fight would even last that long. So they do not pass round 2, the artistic duo. Next up, we have Hidan and Kakazu. Do you wanna take the lead on them and how they would fare against the village?
Yeah, I can take the lead on this one a little bit. So Kakazu and Hidan are characters that have pretty interesting movesets for doing things like this. We know that we get a little glimpse of what they're able to do to large masses of people whenever they're at the monk village, or I'm sorry, the monk temple or whatever. They're able to take a lot of people on at one time. We see this, especially Kakazu, since he has the ability to do his little tentacle things or whatever. So if those come out, and then Hidan also being able to just rampage like he really wants to, obviously, he, actually in character does despise like just killing people without doing the ritual or whatever. But I mean, for this fight, I think he would do it just for the sake of doing and completing the mission. So if he does that, obviously he has a taste for blood. He loves killing people, so he would be going pretty crazy as well as Kakazu. So the only real problem they would have is when Kakashi comes out, which I mean, we kind of saw this. Kakashi is able to take care of them one on one, both equally. There are arguments to be made that they could combat him if they team up, but it honestly depends on where you think, if you think Kakashi got stronger, or if you think he scales to pain, things like that. But I think Kakashi could take the W on them.
Yeah, so the thing about Kakashi in this case is that even if you argue he's one of the only people that can combat Hidan in this situation, right? He's actually gonna have a lot more support than he did in the original fight. So even though like he kind of shows like a degree of relativity to Kakazu, I'm not saying Kakazu's weak, since he can like kill, he can like kick Kakashi out of his ride carry and whatnot. But Kakashi was still able to combat him to the point that he just wasn't blatantly overwhelmed by him or his hearts. Especially since like Kakazu would go on to fight like Choji and stuff, like box him up. So imagine this same Kakashi on his own can combat this Kakazu and like not get blatantly overwhelmed by his hearts, having a whole village to support him. The whole Nara clan, all that crazy stuff. For example, like imagine Shikamaru, who's just binding Hidan by himself, and then here comes the Nara clan, like all of them just jumping. It'd be absurd. Along with the fact that I don't believe the 5 hearts themselves could cause enough damage to warrant Tsunade to kind of like undergo the same position she did in like against Pain and against Sasori and Deidara, to where like she would focus solely on healing the villagers with Katsuyu. No, I think she would actually enter the fray in this situation. I think it would actually be a situation where like she just jumps in the fight and takes them on with Kakashi and the whole group. So I actually don't even see Kakazu and Hidan just getting past the first round, just due to the fact that Kakashi is present. Like Kakashi, arguably, as Truth said, it's kind of debatable if he got stronger, but the fact that like, he is like able to combat them, and he might even use Kamui this time around. Probably not in character, but there's always that potential in the fight. Hidan's not going to be anything to talk about. It's really more so like Kakazu versus the Leaf, which he's not brolic enough to take on Tsunade and Kakashi at the same time. It's just not happening. So, we have the natural counter along with, another like pretty strong Kage level Shinobi. It's pretty absurd, plus the entire village like jumping in with them. Like, it would just, even if you argue like same scenario, it would just be like Kakashi versus Kakazu with support, and the rest of the village versus the hearts, in which case the hearts aren't that strong to where like the villagers wouldn't be able to take them down. For example, like a lot of Anbu were dealing with like the constantly regenerating dog or some absurd like pain summons or anything like that. No, they have a lot to work with. So yeah. And on top of this, Kakazu has no real way of like extracting the proper intel from the shinobi in the hidden leaf. So on top of not probably like more than likely getting overwhelmed, they don't have any way to just like force intel out of a leaf shinobi and whatnot. So even if I gave you that and like maybe he let Hidan rampage, or which Hidan would not last long. Even like that's kind of a note with like Hidan joining the Akatsuki, like he was gonna get overwhelmed by the nations very quickly through his rampages. Even if Kakazu was the one to rampage, it wouldn't accomplish anything. Like he's just gonna lose or have a prolonged fight to where he can't get the intel he needs. So yeah. And the reason I say he won't get the intel he needs, by the way, is just due to the fact that the Leaf villagers were getting tortured by Conan. She was like suffocating them, being like, yo, where's the information on Uzumaki Naruto? Same thing with Pain. He actually had to get the King of Hell to appear and like just force it all and like see who's lying and who's telling the truth. It only really came about since the human path could literally just like read the minds of whoever like soul he snatched. So yeah, nah, Kakazu and Hidan don't have that. They're not getting past round 1. Next up, we have Itachi and Kisame. Now, the way I see this round going, like if their goal is to figure out where Naruto is and like extract information, I could definitely see Itachi just telling Kisame to kind of just go create a diversion while he goes and fishes for intel. The reason I say it's just like the second data book implies, like it basically states that Kisame follows Itachi's orders. You even see this in part 1 when they enter the leaf. Like he even tells Kisame, we didn't come to start a war, even though that might be fun. So with the directive even being like they might not even create a diversion, right? Because a lot of these groups might need diversions to kind of like enact these plans. He might just have Kisame go fight some people, start shooting out large water style, maybe flood the leaf village, and all Itachi actually has to do in this situation, it doesn't even require Kisame to hold out that long. And the reason this segment's gonna be kind of short, just due to the fact that Itachi just has to find one person and have them genjutsu reveal where Naruto is, just like Sasuke did in the Cloud Village. Even though the shinobi did not want to reveal the information, just used the Sharingan to force it out of him. So Itachi's going to do the same in this situation. Kisame doesn't really need to do anything crazy. He just really needs to have most of the attention be on him while Itachi kind of lurks in the shadows. You don't even have to really argue that they fight that long. Even if you like take it there, which you never would, like Itachi can cause mass hand via Amaterasu and just have it like spread throughout the leaf. They do have their like AoE attacks, with Kisame just being much more of the guy. He has a lot of crazy stuff. So a lot of micro matchups don't match in here, or don't matter here, just due to the speed at which Itachi can like accomplish this goal. So round 1 does get cleared pretty quickly. There's no real reason to talk about like Kisame versus this Kakashi, for example. Do you have anything you want to add about like this little bit?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he does take care, the group does take care of them pretty easily. And like you said, if Itachi just comes up, genjutsu someone, like people like Sasuke with genjutsu are able to force the truth out of people whenever he asks where B is, and then the person in the Rain Village the person in the Cloud Village just tells them, right? So I mean, they clear that pretty easily. Even if you say Tsunade would come out and like Kisame is not doing as much damage or enough to force Tsunade to start healing, I mean Itachi is a pretty good counter for Tsunade. Like Itachi should be able to take care of her. Even like if he doesn't want to exert too much chakra, then he could just genjutsu her and really have a count.
Yeah, it's pretty just straightforward. Kakashi's not on Itachi's level, even if you argue stronger than Kisame. As the minute they decide to leave, they're just gonna dip out, in which case Itachi will just join Kisame and like repel whoever's around them, along with causing discourse with his genjutsu. So this duo does pass the first round. Do you want to segue into the next round? Do you want to talk about this real quick?
Yeah, I can talk about this one now. What's the thing with Seijumo Naruto and Kisame and Itachi is that we just have to acknowledge it right off the bat. It's feasible that Itachi and Kisame could win. The way they can do this, I'll let TG go over, but just to recap a little bit of it, like Naruto in physicals should be faster and stronger than both of them, obviously, just due to Itachi being, very sick, and then Kisame just being, Kisame. He gets stronger if he takes in chakra, but he's not going to be able to touch this Naruto. He's just way faster, way stronger. So he does have the capabilities of beating both of these two alone, but then once you put them together, it definitely does get harder. And TJ brought a lot of things up and before recording that we talked about, so you can go over like how they could win possibly.
Yeah, the duo definitely just has a lot of win conditions. I think the way this fight might progress is with Kisame again. You know, it's in the large area. He's gonna begin with a lot of water. Maybe he'll take on the Toad summons. Flooding them doesn't really change anything actually, because they do fight. They would fight well underwater since they are frogs. But it would be there strictly for him to like you know use the large water style. You know, maybe you argue he does the 1,000 sharks, or he makes water clones to kind of like jump the group. Whatever the case. Kisame can definitely change the terrain in this fight while Itachi kind of goes to work. And the thing about Itachi in this Naruto is that this Naruto is physically above this Itachi in terms of like his speed and strength category. This Itachi's win con still applies to this Naruto. Even if you argue right that he injects his chakra into Naruto via ocular jutsu, does the finger technique just like we saw against the 30% clone, and Ma and Pa snap Naruto out of that genjutsu. It doesn't really matter since Tsukuyomi, the way it's going to hit is just going to knock Naruto out regardless. It will mentally fatigue him. Kurama, even if I gave you, right, that Kurama would break Naruto out of it, which he can't, right? He wouldn't, since they're not buddy-buddy. He doesn't care about that Naruto's fighting the Akatsuki, as if he did care, he would have knocked Naruto out of the genjutsu against the 30% Itachi clone. The reason Tsukuyomi is still effective against Jinchurikin, even like KCM Naruto notes this to be, is that the speed at which it hits. So, due to like how quickly it's gonna hit, this stage mode Naruto just would have no resistance. He can get very fatigued quickly. And it's just Itachi's gonna be able to do it from across the battlefield. Maybe you argue Naruto looks into his eyes, but again, not necessary. And Itachi can even genjutsu the giant toad summons, just like Sasuke did with Manda, to even work against Naruto. So there's a whole couple options. Maybe you argue like Itachi's stamina, in fact, like kind of factors into this, but just due to the fact that like he's really like it's a duo going on here. Ma and Pa really shouldn't be doing too much. Even if they frog song Itachi can actually just reflect the genjutsu back at Ma and Pa, similar to how he reflected it back at Kurenai in part 1. So that doesn't really do anything. Nor do I think it would make a difference. So kind of depends how this fight starts. 1v1, this stage mode Naruto does lose to this Itachi. Just due to like him being a completely different fighter. Sage mode Naruto versus Kisame is a bit more debatable, as base Kisame, he's kind of in like that base B range, that kind of segues into like him. He kind of puts himself lower than the Sannin. But I'll say this, Kisame should be able to absorb, if he like water shark bombs a Rasen Shuriken, he'll be able to absorb that and whatnot, but he won't be able to rip like Sage chakra out of Naruto's body like he does with the version 2 cloak. It won't work. He'll just turn into like a stone toad, so that's not a possibility for him. So he's not going to be able to get to like the extreme highs that he was in the B fight. He can make the giant water shark bubble, but that might not even be necessary. Like Itachi might just direct him not to do so and to not fight in such a obnoxious and like obvious way. Yeah, I'll say it like this. Itachi has the hacks to take down this Naruto, along with Kisame having the AoE to deal with the toads. Amaterasu, you can maybe argue Naruto dodges since like Sasuke could outrun it, albeit Itachi was suppressed during that fight. The Raikage is also able to outrun it, so it's a possibility. But yeah, this group, they should pass both just due to them like being opposites, but both having the tools needed to take down Naruto and the village at this point, or hold off the village and require intel. Next up, we have Orochimaru by himself, because, Orochimaru's that guy. Now, we can't really use Orochimaru in the Akatsuki, since, like, that Orochimaru isn't really scalable, in any real sense. Like, there's, so, we don't really have too much use for that, so I'm just going to be using, Hiruzen fight Orochimaru. Now, the thing about Orochimaru is that he can actually just take on an entire village on his own. You might suggest, like, why didn't he do that in part 1 if he didn't? It was more so due to the fact that Hiruzen was there. He wanted to challenge Hiruzen directly without interruptions. But Orochimaru does have access to a lot of summons. He has Manda in this case, along with other large stake summons. Even when he fights Jiraiya in part 1, he does have like other snake summons he can use to like kind of keep the leaf busy. Those same snake summons being what his subordinates summon when they go into like the Konoha crush, if you want to call it that. And the interesting thing about Orochimaru is that Orochimaru has a lot of ways to deal with a lot of opponents. Something that I want to bring up in this situation is that he can summon Hashirama and Tobirama. Someone might say Minato, but that summon was never gonna work. The anime shows the coffin going back down. I've talked about this before. The manga shows Hiruzen blocking it with Doton or Earth style. Just the real issue was that Minato's soul wasn't present, so the coffee would have just came up and gone back down or whatever. The jutsu just never would have worked. But he does have the strong Edo Tensei to come in and support him in the fight if it gets to that. And like cause mayhem while he just goes fishes for intel. I will say, even though we don't have any definitive like jutsu for Orochimaru in terms of genjutsu, I don't want to be the guy who says like it'd be illogical to assume he doesn't have some form of genjutsu or some way to extract intel from somebody, but a lot of times, and I'll say this, like Orochimaru's aura or killing intent can just force people into submission and kind of reveal intel about it. He kind of does this with Kakashi, and like, you know, kind of snaps him out of the idea of fighting him in part 1. Even when he was doing the body transfer ritual, the same guy who was like about to fight him was like completely like gave up any hope of fighting Orochimaru. He's like, this dude's a monster. So it might be weird to suggest, but Orochimaru might actually just like kind of aura flex a lot of Leaf Shinobi into submission. He might not just go for an interrogation, which might be a little weird to say, but it is kind of shown throughout the series. But other than that, you know, he should have some form of genjutsu. It'd be weird to say he doesn't have any way to extract intel, even if it's directly not shown. Or if it really comes to that, he could have his Edo Tensei use the Bringer of Darkness genjutsu and like force people into submission as well. As you know, you could argue like somebody in the Leaf would have cracked intel wise. In which case, you know, Orochimaru actually can combat everybody in the Leaf and is stronger than everybody in the Leaf at this point. Even Kakashi at this point wouldn't be able to take him down. Even if Tsunade joins the fray and summons Katsuyu, it's not going to be enough to just like blatantly stonewall this version of Orochimaru. Nor do I think that version of Tsunade would beat this version of Orochimaru. She doesn't really have too much. Orochimaru's just kind of that guy at this point. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I wanted to say that Jiraiya versus Painart Kakashi has been a debate for a while. I haven't really like, understood why. I think it's pretty clear that you know, he not only being outmatched but also being out experienced and just having less abilities than the people that he's fighting. Like Kakashi would just get, you know, beat up. Like it's not really that hard of a battle. In speed and it's arguable, but obviously I think Jiraiya does better in the Pain fight. Albeit he arguably is fighting a weaker Pain. You know, it depends on how you look at it. Some people think that he's weaker in the Rain Village. Some people think that he's weaker in the Leaf Village. It doesn't really matter. All we know is that like Kakashi still looks up to Jiraiya like someone that should be stronger than him, even after doing all this training that he does in before the Pain fight. So yeah, I think the Orochimaru should be able to take out the village.
And even like Kakashi kind of puts himself below the Sannin tier in terms of like comparing himself to Jiraiya. He's even like, yo, how is Lord Jiraiya combating 6 of these dudes? This is absurd. Like he doesn't really think he's on Jiraiya's level in terms of like his capabilities and whatnot. He still respects Jiraiya a great deal. Maybe you could argue that status, but I would also argue like via his own assessment, he wouldn't be on Jiraiya's level. Maybe you could argue like feats versus like him versus Tendo Pain, but again, he just kind of blatantly gets tagged at the beginning of that fight. And you know, you don't really see Pain show kind of the same respect. He does give Kakashi credit, but he doesn't really give like the same degree of threat to Kakashi as he does to Jiraiya. So Orochimaru should pass this first round just via like him having all these crazy summons. I'm gonna summon like the Ocean of 1,000 Snakes. He can even like separate villagers when they try and like gang up on him with the Rashomon gates and kind of like create a border out within the confines of the village. He has all these really unique ways of going about it. It's just really more so you argue he kind of attains intel, in which case I would argue he just like killing intent like forces somebody into submission with his like own aura, as that's what's shown in the village, or just, you know, he has some form of genjutsu to take him down, as you know, it'd be a little weird to say he doesn't have some version of it. So next up we have Hiruzen fighter Orochimaru against Sage Mode Naruto, Toads, Manpa, and I think this is interesting because, you know, everything I listed before still applies to this fight. Orochimaru has options for the Toad summons and whatnot. I also see him summoning the Edo Tensei to assist him against Naruto. And the real issue in this fight, right, and the main like underlying problem is that on top of Naruto potentially not having a way to kill Orochimaru, he doesn't have any way to seal the Edo Tensei. The worst he can do is have Ma and Pa put them under Genjutsu with the frog song, but other than that, he has no sealing techniques to put the Edo Tensei away, so they're actually going to be able to run rampant throughout the whole duration of the fight, which is going to be very detrimental as you have like large scale wood style high pressure water release that Tobirama is going to shoot out. It's just an absurd amount of techniques. I also don't think Orochimaru would be fighting the same way he was against Hiruzen, where he just kind of laid back and did nothing. You have a good take on this. Do you want to like discuss like why he kind of fought this way against Hiruzen and why this wouldn't be the case here?
Yeah. Well, in my mind, I agree. He does fight in a really weird manner, but the way he does it, in my opinion, is just because while fighting Hiruzen, it is implied that he is holding back mentally, like he's mentally unready for this fight. Kabuto implies this whenever they're talking. He says he thinks that Orochimaru is pulling back because he's not ready to fight him. He doesn't want to fight him. Yeah, so that might be the reason that he fights that way during his fight with Hiruzen. But he wouldn't have the same affliction, I guess you could say, while fighting Naruto. So if he does fight like 1v3 or like, you know, you could say 3v3, whatever, with Mom and Pa, but if he does fight that way, it would definitely make the fight way more interesting and way more nuanced. Like, I don't know if you can really scale, like they do scale to Hiruzen per se, I guess you could say. Edo Kage scale to Hiruzen. They would have beat him up, you know. Hiruzen's still able to react. They're not like blitz levels above Hiruzen or anything. So Naruto would have a hard time, I guess you could say, but
The problem with this Orochimaru as well is that he has it's very questionable if he could damage this Naruto again when he's in Sage mode. You know, he has the grass longsword, which, you know, even damages Enma, but like, you know, Enma's strongest of the summonings, but you know, the higher like levels of Enma and how strong he is a bit unknown. You might argue he pushed the Nine Tails out of the village, which might somehow go back to his strength. But the problem with this is that this is only in the anime depiction of the, you know, Nine Tails attack 19 years ago. In the actual manga, Hiruzen requires the full like force of the entire village to push the Nine Tails out. It's like a group effort. So, you know, that's a little a little iffy, a little up for debate. Along with the grass longsword not being able to breach the Four Tails, which is like implied to be what like the Nine Tails level that kind of breaches into the Sannin territory. So, you know, with that in mind, it's a little I don't really believe there's any way to say like the grass longsword would be able to like kind of damage Naruto. This being especially proven if you believe like Sasuke's longsword to be superior in like potency or how sharp it is to Orochimaru's, as he kind of notes so. With this same Sasuke sword just bouncing off the Raikage in a stronger form. So it's kind of like paint a narrative with that. I don't think his sword's going to be able to bypass Naruto's durability. I think the real question is, though, if Naruto kills him with Rasen Shuriken or not. Because this is Orochimaru, right? Here's the thing. A lot of jutsu is unable to take him down. A lot of jutsu that are treated as instant kills. For example, right? Sasuke uses the Orochimaru-style substitution against the Amaterasu. So, you know, Orochimaru would be able to do the same against, like, some high-level ninjutsu on that front. On top of this, Orochimaru gets stabbed by Itachi's Susanoo sword and doesn't think it's nearly enough to kill him. So, and this is not even talking about, like, Orochimaru's, like, A-added Hydra form, which is just absolutely absurd, but might be, you know, kind of counterproductive if, like, it makes a bigger target for Naruto to, with the Rasen Shuriken. But, yeah, it's kind of debatable, just based on the way, like, the Rasen Shuriken attacks, if it would like actually take down Orochimaru. I would venture to say not, just because like those previous like 2 attacks weren't enough, and just due to the nature of like Orochimaru like kind of weaving around with his body replacement technique where he just kind of like comes out of his own body. The flip side of this being though that he kind of thought the Four Tails Beast Bomb would kill him if it actually did, the attack did land against him. So maybe you think like the properties of the Rasen Shuriken are higher than the Four Tails Beast Bomb and it has a higher potency in that regard. That would also be the case. That being said though, like, right, even if Naruto throws the Rasen Shuriken at Orochimaru, the Rashomon Gates, even if they don't like block it, can redirect it and like change the angle similar to what Hashirama did against the Tailed Beast Bomb on the Susanoo sword. So Orochimaru does have options, and all Orochimaru really needs to do is just wait out Naruto Sage Mode timer. And again, Naruto doesn't have any way to seal the Edo Tensei, right? So he's gonna have problems. Orochimaru could deal with the Toads, even though I would make the case, right, that this Naruto is like physically stronger and probably beat around this Orochimaru in the same sense the Four Tails was kind of like beating him around. He doesn't have any way to seal Orochimaru's support, with it being very likely that Orochimaru would more than likely outlast the Sage Mode timer that Naruto has in place. So the way I see it, Orochimaru should pass round 2 as well, just due to him having these abilities in place and the ability to summon support that can't be sealed away via Naruto and the Toads. So Orochimaru does pass. Next up, we have Team Taka when they're about to go to the 5 Kage Summit against the Hidden Leaf. I use this version specifically since this Sasuke was planning to go to the Leaf regardless. And he's very relative to the one that fought B. I just think it's an interesting note, as he thought the Susanoo was enough power to where he could combat the Leaf until he got his ego checked by Zetsu and Obito. They're like, bro, you're not him right now. You're going to get packed up if you go to the Leaf by Naruto. So, yeah, he's obviously not him, you know, entirely. But against the Leaf without Naruto, I think it's a bit more of an interesting discussion. I also have a video similar to this topic, Taka Sasuke or just Taka against Sage Mode Naruto. What if they want to capture him? I'll put that in the description to go watch, recommend it. Do you want to kind of take the lead on this one? What's your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, this one I'll say that this one is very interesting, just off of the nature of like Naruto and Sasuke's dichotomy or whatever. But it really starting with round 1 versus the village, really wouldn't be that hard for them to come in and take care of the village and get a lot of intel just because of if we say that Jugo, people like Jugo are not like holding back and like trying to not kill people, he's gonna be killing a lot of people, and that wouldn't really be that good, but it would be interesting to see just because even if he doesn't like want to kill people or whatever, if he's taking info from people and like very very badly hurting them, like he can really hurt somebody, like just to torture them very badly, as well as Suigetsu if he wants to like people as well with his water or whatever. Karin, however, she wouldn't be that much of a much of a torture threat or something like that. She would probably just be chilling, supporting Sasuke or whatever. Um, then we get to the main part, which would obviously be Sasuke. I think he would be the one that would want to lead on the stronger people, such as Kakashi, Choza, and even Tsunade if she comes out. So it definitely is possible that they would win versus the village. People like Suigetsu also have like very long range water jutsu, like people like God damn it! There's no way I messed it up again. Okay, I have his name. I'm thinking of Kisame. I just couldn't say it. People like Suigetsu also have very large range AoE water style jutsu like Kisame, so it would kind of go in a similar way. I see it with that one. What do you think?
Yeah, just to add to that, Sugetsu with his like Tate Aboshi, like the water, I believe it's like a jellyfish that he can make. Granted, he does need a large amount of water to make that technique work, but that technique was able to push back details, so kind of can argue that around. And this is the Sasuke with like the impartial Susanoo and like minor mastery in the Amaterasu. But again, this doesn't really matter too much as, Team Taka can go rampage a little bit. Maybe Jugo and like Suigetsu cause like mayhem while Sasuke and Kerin kind of traverse the village. Again, Sasuke only really needs to genjutsu one person to get intel on Naruto. So he'll do exactly what he did against the Cloud Village. Nothing should really change here. If anything, he might take a stealthier approach, especially due to the nature of his Mangekyo Sharingan. He's not going to be looking to like waste MS techniques like that or degrade his eye set in any capacity. So they should pass round one pretty easily. If it does come to it, he can Amaterasu the village again, or like erect the Susanoo. In which case, if he does get it, nothing's really going to be able to touch him. And he can cause mayhem, but that's not going to be his objective at this point. He's going to want to, look for Naruto and get that intel and then go to where he is. Even that was like kind of the whole point of like why Obito was like kind of letting Sasuke power up. He wanted Sasuke to fight Naruto, and he wanted an entertaining fight, to be honest with you. So yeah, that was kind of like the point of all that. So Team Taka should clear this round at this point in strength, especially with like Jugo and Suigetsu being relative to like Darui and like version 1 Raikage. They should be performing very well against villagers at this point. Now, round 2 is honestly going to be straight L's for the group. This Sasuke is not on Sage Mode Naruto's level at all, even if you argue Amaterasu. Now, the problem here is that Sage Mode Naruto is pretty objectively stronger than this Sasuke. The only way this Sasuke can really counter Sage Mode Naruto is via Genjutsu. And even then, it's a little debatable. We did talk about it in Truth's video, but Sasuke is like stated in the 4th data book to have like the highest level of Sharingan Genjutsu, like the body paralysis Genjutsu. But C was able to be like snapped out of it by Darui, so Naruto should have the same via Manpa, and that's if Sasuke like leads with that in the fight. Naruto might just run up and like punch him. This Sasuke has not the best mastery over his flame control and Susanoo. He might just erect the rib cage when Naruto goes to like mink him up and whatnot. The Raikage also just flexes off Sasuke's Genjutsu, so there's also the idea that maybe like Naruto's like just too high of a level to where like Sasuke's Genjutsu might not even affect him, whether that just be him like full of nature release or whatnot. He's just honestly like pretty objectively stronger than this Sasuke, and the reason this matters is because like the way Team Taka fights, they do like fight in direct support of Sasuke. So if someone's like blatantly stronger than Sasuke and like bullying him around, they're not going to be able to do too much. It's exactly like Team Taka versus the Raikage. Even like the Raikage was a bit superior to that Sasuke, at least in speed. If you could argue like Sasuke was able would have won that fight, or is a draw, whatever you say. That's kind of why like Suigetsu and Jugo kind of got clowned out of it. It's just more so like the Toad summons and all that don't really need to be taken into account. It's more so just this Sage Mode Naruto being a blatant superior with like the Rasen Shuriken and all this crazy stuff. Even if you argue like Suigetsu liquefies through his physical blows, it's just none of it really matters. Especially since this Sasuke is more of a rival to this Naruto later on in the Kage Summit. So Team Taka is not clear against that Sage Mode Naruto. They don't have the way anything like that. We kind of talked about it, but this Sasuke is just not on this Naruto's level at this point. And for the final round, we have Obito by himself. I'm going to breeze through the village round just because no one's going to be able to touch him. He's just going to genjutsu, get intel from somebody. So there's no, he's not going to have too much of an issue. No one in the village is on his level. So round 1 goes pretty quickly to Obito. It's just, it's the nature of him, Sharingan, all that. Pretty straightforward. Doesn't even need to cause a scene. Nothing crazy like that. And then we have round 2, Obito and Pain's position. Do you wanna speak on this real quick?
Yeah, I can talk about it real quick. So honestly, I feel like it would just be a worse version of Jiraiya versus Pain. So the way I see it going, right, is that it's basically Naruto is a stronger version of Jiraiya. That's just, we know that based on the volume statement that I got completely wrong earlier. And then also we know that Obito is supposed to be stronger than Pain. Whenever Minato says it while Jiraiya is fighting, while Pain is fighting Naruto, he's basically like, this guy is someone you need the Taka to beat. And specifically, Minato is talking about KCM2 during this, and we know this because in the war arc, whenever Minato comes back, he senses Naruto and Kurama's chakra. It's just that they're actually cooperating, and he's not just using Kurama's chakra. And he says that, like, yes, this is what I wanted. I wanted you to be able to like become friends and cooperate with each other. And this is what I need. What you need is to beat the Orange Mask Obito, or Yellow Mask, arguably. And then with Obito just getting stronger in his Orange Mask form, I see him beating Naruto, pretty easily. The only problem he would arguably have is like the fucking frog song, but he probably calmly through it or whatever. He'd probably be weary of some kind of genjutsu. Other summonings aren't really anything like Gamabunsu. So like, I don't see them doing anything to him really.
That's pretty, like, I don't think anybody's really surprised by this. The BFR with Obito is just treated as an absolute GG in the series. Minato treats it as instant death. It's like it's kind of shown like when you get sent to the Kamui dimension, you kind of get knocked out or like you kind of starve there. There's nothing you could really do. In which case Obito will just retreat the minute he has Naruto. And Naruto's like raw stats aren't like high enough to the point he can just like tag Obito when he materializes. So yeah, Obito takes this one pretty confidently. Nobody else really makes a difference here. I feel like this one's pretty straight. None of the clones really matter or anything like that. So yeah, Obito clears pretty low diff as well. So which isn't to say like Naruto's weak or that Pain's weak. It's just that Obito's arsenal, it's just the way it's structured. It's a little more odd. It's a little weirder. And it's just, you have to have certain things in place for it to even be a possibility, in which Naruto does not. So yeah. But that's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I did. Thank you to Truth for coming on to the channel and whatnot. And that being said, like and subscribe. Go subscribe to Truth. We have a video going up on his channel sometime soon. So be on the lookout for that. I think it's a really good upload. And with that being said, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.